Hello everyone, we're here with a player of complexity, the Swindles, and please tell me, have your life has changed after TI?
How has it changed? Well, it made us like officially Dota players. That was nice. I mean, obviously we wanted to do better, but it we switched over in June or well, I switched over in like June or July, pretty much 1 year before TI5, with the goal to make it there. So to do that was like really big because I accomplished what I set out for, and it also was a decent amount of money that keeps things going, and it just sort of showed that we at the very least could compete with the best, even though we hadn't spent that much time in the game yet.
I know that was kind of a challenge for you to actually go into a professional life of professional player, right? Before the TI, and you kind of did well on the TI. And what actually changed after TI in your life?
In my life, well, first of all, we moved to a new team house, which is much better than the previous one, and I guess we just got a little more respect in the scene because we had so much trouble finding 5 players that could just compete, let alone win. Just that belonged in competition, and it made it a lot easier to find players, which is why instead of instead of just kind of groping around and just getting random players from in-houses, we were able to get, like when NIP broke up, we got the players we wanted from them, and they were interested in us as well because we weren't terrible, which if you only watched from I don't know, when we started to May, you might have considered it as pretty bad, so that was nice.
Did you get any recognition in your daily life that you're being a pro gamer, that that's the guy who was on TI?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I'm even close to popular, so I actually kind of like it that way. The goal is to be famous enough to get free stuff and tickets to events, and not famous enough to be recognized, because autographs are cool and everything, but if you saw S4 RTZ at TI, there's just a line of people, just hundreds long, and eventually you've got to be that guy, and you're like, sorry, I'm done, and then you look at some guy with this puppy dog face, and he's like, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore, and I'm sure that'd be fun, but I don't know. If you're a rock star, I'm sure it would be better because, the whole front row is screaming girls, but in eSports, it's mostly just, hey, sign my mouse pad, which, not to say that there's anything wrong with that. Now I'm flaming gaming, but, it can get slow.
So what about other benefits? You walk in the bar, see a girl, and you say hi, I'm Swindles, and she was.
I don't think that works. You don't. Rule number 1 is you don't fool around with anyone who knows you. Not if anyone knew me not as Kyle but as Swindles first, I'd be very hesitant to. You just don't. You don't mess around. You want to mess with people that are just real people, because you never know what people's intentions are if it's if they know you as an eSports figure. It's weird to be that. I'm just Kyle who plays video games. That's all I ever will be.
It's kind of wise words for a young man, I guess.
Nah, well, you do this for long enough, you figure it out eventually, I guess.
All right, so tell me about the gaming house. I know that you had a Moonmander. Was it some sort of conflict, or it was a mutual agreement to part ways with?
Well, the last time I spoke to Moon Meander, he told me, get me $3,000 a month and I'll be happy. Let's fucking do it. And then about a week later, I got a call from Tal, who I had been waiting an answer to see whether he was going to make a team with No Tail or stay with us. And he told me that both he and Moon were leaving. So Moon actually never even, said, hey, Kyle, thanks, it was fun, bye. He actually, the last words he said to me were that he was on the team. I literally called him before I went to Florida to look at houses and do some contract negotiations to make sure that he was going to be on the team, and he confirmed that he was, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. So I guess he has more information in that than I do. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just not talk about it. About the gaming house, what does the new gaming house look like? Where is it situated, and why you said it's so cool right now?
I was able to build what I had been going for originally, I think that a gaming house is incredibly important for a team to go from the upper echelon to number one. I think that it's like crucial, or vital rather. And because my ideal teammates were European, it's a lot harder than, say, OG, where Moon moved to Israel, so they don't necessarily need to live together because they're all in the same time zone. And if they want a boot camp, it's a couple hours away. They were in Berlin for I think a month before the major. But in our case, we need a house, and I also feel like as a gamer, you don't want to live somewhere where you're just kind of like trapped in a box. And so our house is like really nice. It's like on the water. We have like a pool and a hot tub. And we actually, this is something I'd wanted to do, but I didn't know if it was going to be possible. We actually have a chef who cooks for us, and it's really just my cousin Josh, but he makes delicious food. So the idea is you just have to show up and not suck dick at Dota, and then eventually everything pays for itself. So pretty much, my ideal contract would be one where we receive. Salary isn't as much important as ensuring that we give away the lowest percentage of prize money possible and just have our expenses paid. So in this instance, that's pretty much what we have. So yeah, a lot of our salary goes into the house, but I feel like you don't play Dota 2 for the salary. You play Dota because you want to see yourself on stage holding a trophy and winning millions of dollars, not getting paid a $1,000 or $2 extra a month. I feel like that's why get into games in the first place if you're chasing a nice salary, right?
Sounds like you get some ideas from the Chinese clubs that have in their gaming house. They all that live there. What do you think about that approach the Chinese teams have?
I think that part of the reason they were so dominant in the early years, both in Dota 1 and in Dota 2, was because of their work ethic and their approach to the game. In recent years, I think a combination of just really lethargy in the Chinese scene, in addition to Western teams really working a lot harder, getting much better. You'll notice that most of the top players in today's game aren't a member of the old guard that dominated, say, TI2, TI3. You don't see like Navi or Alliance at even close to the top anymore. Instead, you see totally new players. Like I consider EGs a combination of old and new. OGs, I mean, it depends on what you consider, I guess, an old player. But if I look at someone like, even Fly and No-Tail, they're still a newer generation of Dota players. And I think that is really what's capitulating the Western scene towards greater heights.
Okay, and past in the years, the few like European, maybe American teams, they went to China to boot camp right there. It's kind of rare to see this right now, and why it's changed?
Most people really don't like China. It's just in addition, I just don't think it's the best competition anymore. In the past, I think China was like far and away like the best, but even now, if you look back at just like the old NA scene, like if you look at the teams that qualify, like and in my opinion, you really judge the health of a scene in the teams that are competing in the qualifiers to the huge lands. So if you look at TI2, TI3, you don't really see any teams that, any names even that are special. Whereas now, even in America, which is still one of the lower populated regions, it's like, well, not regions, but player base wise, and there's still pretty solid competition. You can actually scrim people in your region. EG doesn't have to, be on the East Coast playing Europeans. They can actually just exclusively scrim Americans, and they're not performing, I guess, as well as they would like, but I think they're still doing pretty well.
I remember you mentioned that it's kind of really hard to beat Chinese in terms of draft at TI. Did any things change since then, looking like how dominant European teams like OG, Secret are right now?
Definitely. I think because China drafts patterns, and they're very easy to recognize, but they're also very solid. I think LGD opened, I'd scouted, it was like Dazzle, Gyro, Earthshaker. They picked those three heroes in some order first, like 7 games. So it's very solid. You can see why you can put Gyro mid or safe. You could aggro tri-lane, Shaker can off-lane, be support, whatever. So it's very open. But what I feel like Secret specifically, well, OG specifically, but Secret as well, what gives them that big advantage is that they're able to play heroes that break the game and change your win conditions and what you need to accomplish to win. And they do that by choosing heroes like Huskar and Broodmother and Meepo and Invoker even, or First Pick SF, Undying, like all of the Wisp, you know, playing a game where there's no hero in the game that can replicate what an IO can do, what a Broodmother can do. So when you master all of these really niche heroes, it makes it very difficult to draft because you have no idea what the other team is going to do, and especially in this meta where Dazzle is just an unbelievably broken hero in addition to pretty much all of the healer strong, like Dazzle and Undying, incredible laners, incredible throughout the game, like, and you can pair like Dazzle is insane with PL, with Meepo, with Huskar, with Broodmother. It's like really good, and you don't know what's coming. So you know they're thinking, okay, they just watched them play Brood, and they're scared of that, and then all of a sudden Notel's playing Meepo mid, and they have one pick to deal with it, and it's not even. Dota's not even that simple where it's like, oh, well, if you pick, you know, Ember Spirit Jakiro, well, no problems with Meepo. You know, you make a couple mistakes, he's still going to be really farmed. Like, you can't, and I don't know, that's a really long answer, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. Drafting has become, Western teams are taking a lot more chances and mastering far more heroes, and the Chinese are just way behind in that regard. I don't think a single Chinese team won a game with Huskar at the major.
Maybe it's some sort of, you know, the mentality issue was like Western teams tend to be more creative, more maybe some sort of outrageous in drafting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it started that way because it felt so hopeless back in the day because you could just not beat them. But now you've gotten to the point where I think talent is even, dedication is even, and there's still that sort of spark of ingenuity that Western teams really never lost. In addition, the Chinese meta is like very stale. As a Chinese team, you really only play China unless you're at an international LAN. Whereas I have always considered NA and EU to be pretty equal and connected regions. I know European Dota very well. I think a lot of Europeans know NA Dota pretty well. I think that gives us a big advantage because teams draft totally differently based on the continent. Even within Europe and America, I feel like there's way more innovation than there is in the Chinese scene.
Are there any teams that give you inspiration in terms of all the drafting and strategies?
I think OG specifically did things really. I feel like not so much drafting, but as the tools they gave their drafter, I think put Fly in like a fantastic position, and not to like take away from how he drafted, but it's, as I said, when your team can play nearly every hero in the game at an incredibly high level, because that's another thing, you know, maybe your team can play Broodmother, but your Broodmother's here, and maybe the Gyrocopter's up here. So you don't really want to go with the hero that your player will not be confident on, because then it really sucks to lose if you're not confident in what you were doing. It's one thing to go out playing what you're good with, and another to go out based on, you know, your captain thought it was good this game. So in that sense, I think their drafting it demonstrates what a team needs to have to be world class, which is the ability to play almost everything.
Okay. So now let's move back to the complexity that you are having new players on your team. Please tell me how did you decided to go for Chessie and Hansken?
Well, Chessie and Limp are just, I think, probably my favorite core players. I won 5 lands with Chessie and Han and 2 with Limp because he joined late, and I respect them as players, and I have the confidence in them that they can win, and I also think that they approach the game in a similar way that I do, where they're very good at recognizing their mistakes, and they understand what they've done wrong on a macro level, not just, okay, well, I missed this stun. It's more about movements and item choices and timings. And they get that. And Hansken just made sense, I think. Like he was our biggest rival in Han. He was the captain of that team. He's a really chill guy. And, you know, he's talented, and he was the exact role that we would need. And I feel like our team, like everyone's just very, I think the death of most teams is passive aggressivity, and on our team, it's like even in Han, you know, we lose a series. Like I distinctly remember one. We all got super fucking mad, like yelled. I left the room, chilled, come back in. Like, okay, guys, we're gonna go watch it on the projector. figure out what happened, we review the game, we talk about it, it's done. It's so much easier as a team, and that's something that we can do where you just solve your problems, you know? Just yell at each other if you have to. I don't mean like, you know, scream and froth at the mouth, but just deal with the problem. Don't just kind of kick it to the side. And I think that the team morale and the chemistry is going to be very high as soon as we get to a point where we have a lot of games under our belt and, you know, can get our whole team to a LAN.
So, what's your future plans? Are you going to take some break for Christmas and stuff, or?
I'd like to, but I don't know. It's hard because my issue is I always work like too hard, and I need to like force myself to take breaks. But there's like a saying, you know, when you're sleeping, the competition is training, you know. So on one hand, like I really want to go enjoy myself, and like actually I haven't. This was like the first time I've been in Europe in like 2 years, which is like it's crazy to me, and I haven't really gotten a chance to enjoy any of the cities I've traveled to in a long time. And I really wanted to I just want to take a trip and just go. Like I love backpacking and just staying in hostels and dancing on beaches with people you don't know the names of. Like it's a really, really great experience to immerse yourself in that sort of culture, and I desperately miss it. But you don't get any better at Dota dancing, unfortunately. So I will wait and see. Maybe see family. I have no idea.
Okay, sounds good. So, I guess that's it. Any shoutouts? Anything else you want to say?
I love this LAN thus far. I mean, we've had a couple issues with the computers, but I don't know. I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that technology is just always going to be shit. Like, I don't understand it. You get this beautiful machine, and it should work, and it breaks anyway. And you're just like, and there's so many things that could be wrong. It could be like a little fraying in the wire. It's not even the computer. It's like, I don't even know, but everyone's great, really friendly, and it's just like a really fun event. I'm glad I'm here. I just wish we could have put on a better performance for the fans.
Well, thank you so much for this great interview, and good luck next events, and happy future Christmas coming. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.